To be honest, tune in. Is the pod going up? To be honest, sit down, we need to have a talk. Cornelius gon' make a point that the others don't. Them other shows sound the same, come escape the box. Expand your mind, dig into no controversial topics. He ain't scared to keep it real. Tune into this podcast, but don't be in your feelings. We gon' have a laugh, we gon' talk about some pain. Let's talk about the present situation of today. To be honest, is this the podcast? I need to tune in right now.
Yo, what's going on, beautiful people? Yo, it's your boy Cornelius Lindsay with another episode of To Be Honest. And yo, it's a lot going on in the world today. I mean, let's start off right here. Did y'all go to church on Easter? I know a lot of people went to church on Easter, man. The pastors was boasting about all the different people who was there on Easter Sunday, man. The churches were packed out. And the big question was asked, is church back? Are we kind of back into the whole groove of things? Are the people coming back? Is everything kind of returning to normal in many ways? And so I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday about the concept of is church back and stuff like that, or is this just a new influx of people, or how we will spiritualize everything? We'll say, is this the harvest? Is it ready for the harvest now? And people are coming back to it. And this guy, he said something to me. One of my boys, he said something to me that I thought was extremely interesting. He said, Cornelius, I talked to many people who said they were going to church, but they were going to church out of a sense of obligation. They weren't necessarily going because they actually felt like, this is a place where I wanted to be, but they felt like I just feel so obliged to go because number one, it's Easter. And number two, they're trying to figure out, where they really find where they really find themselves in current church culture. And that has been like me to the T right now, like trying to figure out exactly where I fit in the current state of church culture. Because when I walk inside of church nowadays, I'm like, man, is this me? And I mean, I don't want to make this overly deep, or I also want to make this so simple, so simplistic that it's nothing. Because I do think that it is something. I do think that, we have to be able to have these conversations, be able to talk these things out. And as I've been talking about soul care and all those different things, one of the things that, I've been hitting on for myself is this concept of integrity. And I know we usually hear about integrity when it comes to like leadership conferences and stuff like that. Like, you hear the definition of integrity, making sure that your words match your deeds. But one of the places of integrity that I've been touching on the most is that place of integrity to self. Like, am I remaining true to me? And am I really remaining true to myself? And when I look out at church culture today, I'm asking myself the question, like, is this still me? Because I mean, when you look at it, man, it's brand building. It's like, okay, we boast in the numbers, and I mean, the numbers are great. The numbers are awesome, but I guess how does that translate over into like discipleship, or how does it translate over into everything else? And I don't want to come right here kind of being a Debbie Downer on everything that's going on. I think that is great. I applaud, my pastoral friends that are out there, and I mean, absolutely killing the game. They're giving everything they possibly can to reach their city, to reach their community, to reach their hood, to reach the people. And it's what is that? And we can't attribute that to, I would say, good preaching. Like, I do not believe that church growth has anything to do with good preaching. Absolutely at all. The reason why I say that is I know a lot of extremely gifted preachers. Listen to me. They are extremely gifted preachers. They are able to tear down the word of God in such a way that you will blow your mind. They are so full of revelation, but their church has like 10, maybe 15 people in it. And then I know guys and ladies, they couldn't preach you out of a wet paper sack. And I mean, they're flowing with, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 members. You kind of leave from church. You're like, what the heck was he even talking about? But nonetheless, I mean, it sounded good, or they just kind of stole a sermon from Craig Rochelle off of YouTube. Or if black folks take a sermon from TD Jakes, they take it right off YouTube, boop, 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 just preach it yourself, and there you go. So I mean, it gives the illusion that is full of revelation, gives the illusion that is full of wisdom, it's give the illusion that is full of all these things, but it's really just full of it. You know what I mean? So like as as I'm like looking out at the current setting of church culture, somebody who has been somebody who has heavily invested in it for the past, 10, 11, 12 years of my life, somebody who is even, considering, like we've been talking about launching a church or whatever that looks like in the Los Angeles area. My wife and I have announced it. We've talked about it, and people hit us up. They're like, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you guys going to launch it? What do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I keep coming to the same place over and over again. It's like, where do I belong in church culture? Now, I know for me, I don't necessarily plan on pastoring a church again. I do plan on planting a church again. That's like in my foresight goal, I believe. That's like where I'm landing at. So I don't have a problem with planting a church. I am apostolic in nature. I start things. I don't like the managerial aspect of anything. I don't want to be over anything. I get people that come around me. They like, yo, see, like in my head, bro, like I want to become like a CEO. I want to become like a business owner. And I'm like, I don't want to be a business owner. I don't want to be a business owner. I don't want to be CEO. I don't want to be president of anything. I don't want any of that, because that means that I have responsibilities that have to be maintained. I don't want to do any of those things. I just want to have a sense of oversight and just be able just to cast a vision and be like, y'all run with that, and then make sure the vision is taken care of. That's as much oversight as I want. I like to start businesses so that I can pass them off to other people. I don't want to keep something over a period of time. Like, I think if somebody asked me the question, they said, what was my biggest regret of pastoring before? And I think it was the fact that I didn't stop sooner. I wish I would have stopped sooner than I actually did. Because I was burnt out. I was depressed. I was suicidal. I had all these different issues that were going on the inside of me. Didn't know what to do. I was lacking fulfillment and everything. And I'm wondering, man, we got 3 services right now. We got our church is at 3 different campuses. We have all these things going on, and I still don't feel fulfilled. And the reason being is because I'm not pastoral. That's not who I am. Just in the very nature of what a pastor is, I'm not very pastoral. I am more apostolic. I'm more the building up of leaders and building up of buildings and building up of things. I build things. I start things. That's what I do. I can go to a flat land and be like, this is what's going to be right there, and start putting together the foundation. Once the building is built, like, I really don't care. I mean, even when it comes to like my writing, like, I write because it's therapeutic. Most of the time I just self-publish what I write. And the cool thing is when I push the information out, I am very excited about the foundational level of like writing a book. But then when it comes to after the book has been written and has been developed and has been pushed out, I'm like, I really don't care about it anymore. Like, I released a new book called Escape the Box. And I had somebody who was like, why don't you promote your book? Why don't you promote your book? Because I think that's like managerial type stuff. That's what you get other people to do. Like, other people can promote it, and people have been promoting it by word of mouth, whether they like it or they don't. They tell somebody else, and then people go and they buy it. So I'm just like, I just let people do the work for me. But nevertheless, it's like, I know where my strengths are. So thank God, over the years, I've been able to pinpoint exactly where those are. So it allows for me to be able to know where I am. So when I say, hey, I'm planting a church, I'm planting one. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm necessarily pastor it, because I'm actually looking for pastors who are going to come in to help pastor the church, who help pastor the people. But I'm not going to be the one that's going to be pastoring the church. And I don't also plan on being at the church all the time. So I don't plan on being there every single Sunday. I plan on still going on vacation with my family. I plan on still going on vacation with my wife. I plan on still going on trips by myself or going on trips with my friends, and introduces, I'm out of this piece because I don't really necessarily want to be in that assembly over, just forever. I feel like I'm like stuck into the place. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm in this very weird place where I'm really asking myself the question, like, what does church culture look like? And what part of it have we gotten extremely right? And then what part of it got extremely wrong? Because during the pandemic, I sat down with so many pastors, and they're like, what, Cornelius, man, like, we have to really rethink how we're doing church. We got to really rethink how we're doing this. And I think the pandemic is opening up our eyes, and we're able to see certain things and able to blah, blah, blah. And I'm hearing all of that. And then all of a sudden it goes to zip. It goes right back to, well, we're going back to the same old thing. And I'm just like, but remember, we had all these conversations about something different. And then the important question comes in, what does that different look like? And, I don't feel like I really know the full answer to it. I feel like I have insight to it. I don't even know if we've been giving ourselves a chance to try, to attempt to have something that is new. And I believe I know why it's going to be so difficult for a lot of people to kind of go in that lane of like finding something new, because doing something new is going to involve a sense of vulnerability, and it's going to, you have to be willing to take the attacks. Like if we're fighting in a war, and if I'm on the front line, and then if I jump out of the front line, of course, and everybody's shooting arrows, they're going to shoot them directly at me because I am the main target. And unfortunately, people don't like to be first, or people don't like to be in the front, because if you are, then you run the risk. You run the risk of massacre. You run the risk of everybody feeling like that you are, you're the rebel. You're the deviant. You're the defiant one. And you're going a different direction. And why are you going a different direction? And everything is fine like it is, because people don't like change. And yes, I mean, we have more people who came, but I guess kind of being on the outside of it, I'm really, I don't know, I'm just asking a lot of different questions. Because on the inside, when I was on the inside of it, I really didn't have time to ask these questions or even to answer these questions, because no matter how hard we worked to get Easter going, I knew that the next Sunday was as equally as important, because now we really want to get the church together, because we got new people coming in and we want people to see who we are. And VIP services. Okay, guest services. Let's talk about the culture. Let's talk about how we're going to build this thing up. And when new people come in, okay, ushers, where are you going to sit them at? And okay, what we're going to do over here? We got to be baptizing more people. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing that. And leading the people. So it just became like more of a every single Sunday type of thing. It's like you never got a break, because you got to continue to run the machine. The machine has to be ran over and 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 over again. And now that I don't have to run the machine because I know what it's like to run the machine, now that I'm outside the machine, I'm able to stand back and say, okay, what part of this are we getting right? It looks good, but what part of this are we not getting right? So I think we all have to just take some time to answer that question for ourselves. Yeah, we got to answer that. Nevertheless, did y'all go to Easter? Did y'all go to church on Easter? And then there's this other stuff going on in the world too. And I feel like I haven't talked about current events in such a long doggone time. And I had a whole podcast called Silent Majority, and I always talk about politics and stuff like that all the time, politics and government. And I just got tired of talking about that. It's like the only single thing that I could kind of talk about is just kind of pigeonhole me. But guess what, y'all? We ain't got to wear no mask no more on the airplanes. I know some of y'all are kind of sour about that. I really apologize to you. I had somebody who was like, yo, Cornelius, I don't like the fact that you're applauding the decision because, I still want to wear my mask. And here is the great thing about that. The people who don't want to wear the mask, I included, we just want the same thing that you want right now. We've always wanted it. And that is just the option to continue to do what we care to do, because we enjoy the freedom of doing what we believe is important for our body. And I don't trust the CDC anyway. So neither do I trust the FDA. I don't trust anything that really comes outside of government regulation. And I don't trust anything that comes out of Washington, D.C. either. So, hey, it's like, I don't trust the CDC. So the CDC says, hey, I believe that this is what you should do. I'm like, well, I don't think we should go that direction. If the FDA tells us that I think this is what we should do, I don't necessarily think we should go that direction. I just feel like we should be able, as proud Americans, to be able to choose the liberty that we have and be able to choose those things for ourselves, because God has given us a choice. And I just think that because we have a choice, we should be able to choose. So you could still choose to wear your mask. If you're upset about it, just continue to choose to wear your mask. You have people who didn't want to wear masks and they didn't get on airplanes, and now they're going to ride airplanes again. And you may be like, well, I don't want to ride an airplane with somebody who's not wearing a mask. Well, then don't ride airplanes. Just kind of drive everywhere you go. I was flying off throughout the pandemic. I was flying before the pandemic, through the pandemic, after the pandemic. I guess we're still in the pandemic. I don't know. But nevertheless, still flying on that thing, and I put on my mask. I just kind of took it off and just kind of ate things slowly on those longer flights, those 5, 6, 7 hour flights. But nevertheless, you kind of get in where you fit in, kind of do what you got to do. But now I'm be walking to the airport like, ha 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 ha, ha, I ain't got on no mask, pimp player. I'm up in this piece. But if you feel like you still want to wear one, I mean, go right ahead. Like wear your mask. Rock out with what you feel like is important for your body, because that's the important thing about this, right? So that you can have a choice, because that is what we have, the liberty of citizens, the liberty of a nation, to be able to make a choice for ourselves. So if you still want to wear your mask, wear your mask. We got a lot of stuff, man. I'm gonna have to cover all these things at some point. I mean, I ain't even talked about CRT yet. Y'all don't know how I feel about CRT, the critical race theory. I mean, they got these things going down like in Florida with the bills that don't say gay bill. Like, we got to talk about that. We got to talk about a lot of stuff. Like in California, where I live, they're getting rid of plastics and everything. Like, we got to talk about these gas prices. We still got to talk about Russia and Ukraine. We got a lot to be able to talk about, but I'm not going to overload you with all those things right now. But what I will say is that, going back to the conversation of church culture, I just want you to search your own heart. Maybe asking God, what is it that you can either give to it? What is it that's something that you could probably take away from it? And what is all this stuff to us now with church culture? Are you doing it simply because you feel like you have an obligation to it? Are you doing it because you really feel like this is something that you should be doing? I feel like it's a question we should ask. And until next time, you continue to ask yourself the question. But this is me, Cornelius Lindsay, and I'm over and I'm out. I appreciate all of you. Make sure you share this. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you also comment. Make sure you rate me too. I love y'all so much. Introduces. I'm out.